All right, Popeye's here. Get your hands on your heads. Get off the bar and get on the wall. What's my name?
Popeye Doyle. If he doesn't like you, he'll take you apart. And it's all perfectly legal, because Doyle fights dirty.
You want to take a ride there, fat man?
And plays rough.
Anybody want a milkshake?
Doyle is bad news, but he's a good cop.
We're going now. Bye.
Welcome to Kermode Uncut. A week or so ago, I got a message from William Friedkin, one of my favourite filmmakers, who's going to be doing a masterclass in Cannes, saying, did you know that October is the 45th anniversary of the French Connection? And this really took me aback. God, the French Connection is 45 years old. That's really terrifying.
Hey, Coke, you all right?
Just the other day, I was recording the latest instalment of Celluloid Jukebox, the program that I'm doing for Radio 2 about pop music and the movies. And we played a track from Boogie Nights, and I was forced to recognise that Boogie Nights, which I think of as a recent film, is actually nearly 20 years old. It came out in 1997. Next year is going to be the 20th anniversary of Boogie Nights. And this really started me worrying about what my version of recent starts to look like. You know, I did a top 10 poll for Sight and Sound a few years ago in which I put Pan's Labyrinth as one of my top 10 films of all time. And I was really pleased that there was one of my top 10 movies was actually in the 21st century, because for me, I think anything that's in the 21st century is pretty new, is pretty recent. The 21st century is 16 years old. I mean, I was going to the movies from about the age of 4 or 5. There are entire generations of people now going to the cinema who were born after the 21st century. So for them, anything that's around the turn of the century is an old movie. We talked on this blog before about year zero for horror films. For me, saying that actually it's weird, we're now in a generation in which there's a bunch of horror filmmakers who think of Halloween as year zero, whereas I come from the generation that thinks of Halloween as the end of something rather than the beginning of something. I was talking to Den of Geek, who were running an article about a similar theme. And I said, you know, there is now a generation of people who will look at the glowing suitcase in Pulp Fiction and say, ah, well, that's a reference to an Alex Cox movie, Repo Man, as opposed to saying, well, the Alex Cox movie is a reference to Robert Aldrich's Kiss Me Deadly. And actually, even that has pre-references. So for every generation, year zero moves. Up until now, I have been firm in the opinion that anything this side of the 21st century is actually fairly recent. But I'm starting to think that that's no longer the case. So my question to you is this. What's the most recent film that you can think of as old?
Vincent!
We happy?
Yeah, we happy.